Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Westwind Report. Today is Sunday, June 1st, technically, at 12:30 in the morning or at night, whichever way the wind blows. Yeah, how we feeling? It's been a while. I think the last episode that I uploaded was like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, give or take. Yeah, how we feeling out there? How's the temperature? For me, I'm just sick of hearing Mark Carney talk. And I think Mr. Polyev on the other side has to do a little bit of a rebrand. I'm not too jazzed to hear him talk either. I'm just down on the government in general. But no, I think a lot of people maybe just tired. They're just tired at this point. It's more of the same in Canada right now. The election happened. It was all real exciting. Everyone got invested raw. All the 65 plus had their elbows up. Just shit on our future. But everyone was really excited. And now I think people are just tired. And I'm not special. That happened to me too. I still kept an eye on things, but I soon realized it's just more of the same overspending from the government, lies, broken promises, all that stuff. There's nothing has changed. And that's the frustrating part. But I retreated a little bit, took a couple steps back into the woods, found myself, did ayahuasca with Aaron Rodgers and Joe Rogan. But I did do some contemplation, I guess is what you could say, about this show and what I want it to be. And I came to the realization that I want it to be successful because I think we need to have a space of positive collaboration and discussion to really figure out what's going on. And more importantly, I want to realize that federal politics is a different kind of beast. There's a lot of people who cover federal politics already and do a great job doing so. And I would love to lend my voice to that stuff, but I think my time is better suited focusing on something a bit more specific, and that is British Columbia, the beautiful province of British Columbia. And as someone who's lived in BC my entire life, I feel like I'm an authority to talk about this stuff because and I guess I don't want this show to be just about criticism, right? Just criticizing this person saying this and this person's wrong because of this. I think I want it to be, like I said, positive collaboration and discussion from all walks of life because that's what makes us human. Connecting with people and learning and understanding and then finding common ground where we can all take a step forward. I'm not really interested in going backwards at this point, and I don't think we can afford to go backwards at this point. And yeah, so that's what I want the Westwind Report to be from here on out. We're going to focus on BC and we're going to figure out how we can fix BC and then we'll worry about the rest of Canada. Let's get our home in order first. And a big question is why should this show exist? Why should we focus on BC? And I think it's because it's important. I think we have unfortunately taken BC for granted. A lot of people who have been here our whole lives, we've grown up in a very safe environment that has just taken a turn for the worst since I want to say like 2017, give or take. So I think we're just all a little bit naive to the real problems that are going on and not realizing how good we have it compared to other places in the world. Because the province has completely changed since I've been a kid. When I grew up, I was out late, right? As any young person does, and I could still feel safe. I didn't have to worry about other things that people living in major metro areas had to worry about. And at the end of the day, it's I've been looking around lately, pulling the curtain back and just looking at what's going on, more specifically in Victoria, and what happened. Excuse me. Like the province has completely changed. We have sky high taxes on everything. Things we buy are property taxes, municipality taxes, all that garbage, right? That's all sky high. We have rising crime rates. We have a housing crisis and a homeless crisis. So a little NyQuil and DayQuil problem. We have an insane opioid crisis all throughout Canada, but highly concentrated in BC. We have an affordability crisis and a lack of opportunity crisis, I guess you could say, for younger people trying to just get by, survive, and build up a little nest egg for themselves. It's just difficult to grow wealth in this province. It just hit at every turn. And it's not, these aren't normal living conditions for a modern society. And I think we have to realize that. And it might be tough for people, right? Like me, for example, who grew up in BC. I just grew up through this like system that they have in place. Keep in mind that NDP have ruled over BC since 2017. It's just been like this gradual, just growing with the system and trying to use old ways to get ahead in the system. But those old ways aren't working anymore. And it's not normal. And I wholeheartedly think that BC is worth saving as we have our toes over the edge. We have strong resources here. We've got, I guess, coal. We've got mining opportunities. We've got natural gas. We've got like the world's strongest, most tempered lumber. We have a temperate climate, so infrastructure can survive and agriculture can survive. And we also just have a gorgeous province. We've got mountains, we've got forests, we've got rivers, we've got lakes. We're right on the water. We've got ports that can go all over the world. And I don't want to see it just fall through the cracks for us. And I think us as not just Canadians, but as British Columbians need to unite almost, not divide. So then where do we begin? How do we fix it? We can start by holding our government accountable. Because no matter your walk of life, if you're left leaning, right leaning, center, independent, whatever, we have to realize that the government makes the rules as to what we live by. So if we're all struggling to live successfully, then we got to look at the guys that are rigging the game against us. If we're in an affordability crisis, okay, then why don't we slash taxes, which the government can do? Right? Why doesn't the government that's over bloated, why don't we cut salaries, cut expenses? The operational budget, you hear Mark Carney say, oh, well, we're going to cut the operational budget of the government. That's salaries, that's expenses, that's trips, that's pizza parties. Yeah, let's cut all that. Like we have to at this point. It's going to get so extreme that people are going to be fishing in the ponds in the public parks for dinner. And you would think like the amount of taxes that we pay in this province, we should have no sick people and no homeless people. But we continue to have those problems. And and I believe that the problem with the government, the one sentence that can solve it all is the government just doesn't need to give us more handouts. It doesn't need to give the people more handouts because these handouts are just more government programs that are in turn funded by our taxes that go up because we need to fund these government programs. The government doesn't need to give us more handouts. The government has to start taking less from us, less from our taxes. That's it. I don't care where you land on the political spectrum. The government needs to stop taking as much money as they are from our pockets. If you're someone who's left leaning and you don't want social services cut, I understand that. But if you're a person who needs these social services, like universal health care, all of this stuff, what's going on right now in BC is our healthcare system is so overrun. Our nurses are protesting in the streets. It's all so overrun that the people who need access to this care and can't afford it, they're not getting the proper medical attention that they need. It's because the entire system is jammed up. Who's to blame for the entire system to jam up? It's not the people that are using the services. It's the people that are in charge of the services, and the government is in charge of the services. So if you want your healthcare to get better, then why do you keep voting for the same government? Just because they're not conservative or right-leaning? This is the thing. This is the division that I don't understand. It's not positive. Like this, my team is right, your team is wrong on every single thing. Give me a break. No one's 100% right in anything. What makes you think that your government party that you support is 100% right in everything? Like you can be a pro-choice conservative. Those people exist. You can be a entrepreneurial liberal. Those people exist. But it's these wedge issues that the government has and these divisive tactics that people really give into because, I don't know, I guess it feels good to tell someone they're wrong, especially from behind a computer screen. So that's another problem. And like I'm not like anti-social services. I'm not anti-universal healthcare. I'm anti-government bloat. I'm anti-high taxes. I'm anti-government spending. So on that point, and on that little intro tangent rant I had, the Westwood Report is going to be about British Columbia. And I guess where do we start if not at the top with Mr. David Eby? Now this guy's an interesting bird, to say the least. If I had to describe him, I would say that he is a activist politician. He's a walking paradox. He's a man who is very strong in his convictions, but his convictions are extremely ill-informed, unfortunately. Like, for example, he's a big climate guy. He loves the climate, loves talking about clean energy, whatever that means, and talking about how it's the future of BC and all this stuff and how we have to fight climate change and all that good stuff. Like, very activist esque, right? Someone who will sit in the middle of the street blocking someone who's just trying to get to work because there's oil in their cars and big oil needs to come down. Something like that, right? Like, he loves the climate. But unfortunately, he wastes money on all of these clean energy projects, like Clean BC, for example. Look at this article here. This is written by the Narwhal. Great article. Definitely recommend giving it a read. But right here it says BC spent $3.5 billion to reduce carbon emissions over 7 years. That plan has failed. British Columbia has failed to reduce carbon emissions despite a $3.5 billion investment in the Clean BC program over 7 years, and the government is hinting the lauded program may be scrapped or overhauled. I'm not going to read this whole article, but it basically goes on to say exactly what it says in the title. They spent billions of dollars trying to lower our emissions, and emissions are the worse than they were before. So that $3.5 billion, you might as well just light that on fire. And that's just taxpayer money. That's why our taxes are so high, because we have this guy at the helm. They can't come out and say, oh, completely wasted all of your tax-paying dollars. So what they have to, Adrian Dix, who is our Minister of Energy and Climate Solutions, wonder how much his salary is. He basically said in this article that the targets they were trying to reach were a little too ambitious. They were a little too ambitious. They weren't wrong or batshit crazy. They were just a little too ambitious. Okay, that's divisive. I'm trying to be positive here. And so what do they have to do? They're not gonna scrap it. They're not gonna scrap it. They're gonna overhaul it. And what does that mean? That means a government committee has to form to review Clean BC and why it wasted $3.5 billion. When the answer is government negligence. But they can't admit that, so they have to pay. They're gonna pay and they're gonna investigate themselves. This is the legacy of the BC NDP. This is the legacy of David Eby. He just investigates himself whenever he gets caught up in something, which he's been caught up in a lot of shady stuff. And then we have things like this catch and release stuff that's happening in BC as well, which is just a complete failure to public safety. Kind of the number one thing you want your government to be good at is keeping you safe. And they've completely failed, right? Like this press release, this is from Vancouver Police. I believe this came out May 29th, so just a couple days ago. A high-risk sex offender has been rearrested by Vancouver Police and charged with an indecent act after officers responded to reports of a man masturbating, excuse my French, in an East Vancouver neighborhood Wednesday. Police were called shortly before 5 p.m. after a woman living near Woodland Drive in East Broadway reported a man masturbating in a lane and looking into houses. Awesome. Responding officers located and arrested a 25-year-old man nearby. Skylar Wayne Peltier has been charged with 1 count of indecent act. Peltier is a convicted sex offender who is currently serving a 5-year long-term supervision order for convictions of sexual assault and break and enter. He remains in custody. For how long? For how long? They already had him pinned with sexual assault and break and entering, and he got a 5-year long-term supervision order, whatever that means. And now in this rearrest, it's just an indecent act. And this is the story that you hear from police officers, where their hands are in the air because they arrest these guys. They arrest repeat offenders, violent offenders. And then before they're done with the paperwork, the guys are walking free on probation or waiting for bail, and they just get put under house arrest. And I understand that a big chunk of that is Bill C-75, and that's a federal government bill that I believe Trudeau passed into law in like 2018 or something like that. And it essentially orders the judges, the criminal judges, to administer least strenuous release conditions and charges. So pretty much you can go in and say, I'm sorry for what I did. I feel terrible. And then the judge will say, do you have a place to stay? And they say, yep. And they go, okay, just stay there and take your meds. Maybe that's an oversimplification of it, but that's pretty much what's going on. So I understand that's in place. But the very least that David Eby can do is stand up for British Columbia and say, hey, federal government, can we get rid of this Bill C-75? Because it's really hurting my constituents, the people who, quote unquote, elected me. Can we maybe take a look at this? Right? Take Danielle Smith, for example, from Alberta. You can call her a separatist or you can call her a traitor. But she's not a separatist. She's always said that she believes in a prosperous Alberta within a united Canada. All she did was lower the threshold for citizen petitions to initiate a referendum from, what was it, 300,000 or something like that, or 600,000 to 150,000. And that's not just about separating from Canada. That could be if 170,000 people all agree that they pay too much in income tax, they can sign a petition and they can trigger a referendum where the whole province votes on if the government should lower taxes or if the government should write legislation about this. That's all that she did. And she's vilified for it. Meanwhile, in British Columbia, this stuff's happening in the streets and David Eby is nowhere to be found. That is my problem with this fella. You know, he doesn't want to come off as too mean. He doesn't want to come off as too hard on criminals and too hard on justice. It's, yeah, okay, but like how many other people have to be exposed to this kind of stuff? How many people have to be injured? How many people have to be attacked? Like, I don't understand it from him. Like, can he not just stand up for us? But he focuses on divisive stuff, calling anyone who questions this, a conspiracy theorist or right-wing conspiracy theorist or whatever. No, dude, these are normal people saying, this isn't normal. This is messed up. There's families, there's young children in BC. Like, why are you not protecting them? Why are you not advocating for them? Because I can tell you, if you talk to anyone about this, I think the majority of people will agree this guy should probably be locked up and not under a supervision order, whatever that means. And that's another thing is Mr. Eby, he just thrives on these divisive political tactics. He uses the shield of saying anyone who doesn't agree with me is either some sort of bigot or racist or some sort of phobe. That's the shield that he hides behind. And it's getting really tiresome because that's not how you take a step forward. That's not how you unite a people. That's how you just divide and break down and push this negative and hateful sentiment between people who live in the same province and probably would walk past each other on the street, not think anything of it, but if, you knew their political allegiances, you would just hate that person. It's so backwards. And I think the worst, that might be David Eby's worst crime. He's not proud to be from BC. He's not proud to be a British Columbian. He can say he is, but he's not. He has ministers in his cabinet who are extremely divisive and say wild things. And he's silent on it all. He's complicit in it all. And it's, man, you're the premier, for goodness sake. You're the man in charge. Look what your team's doing, coach. Like, look at Victoria, the provincial capital, where the legislature is. Look what's happening in the streets. Not just Vancouver, right? Like here, this article, which I saw. BC government takes punches as Victoria earns negative national spotlight. I wonder why. I wonder why. Could it be because of a little place called Pandora Avenue? Um, Victoria's mayor and local business association are calling on the BC government to step up as the city makes national headlines for the wrong reasons. The Globe and Mail recently published 2 stories that highlighted the addictions and homelessness crisis in BC's capital city. One of the headlines refers to Pandora Avenue, the epicenter of the crisis, as an open drug market. This is now a national story, and yes, this is an issue that's happening everywhere. But now people in Toronto are saying Victoria is a terrible place, and that just hurts business, said Downtown Victoria Business Associate Executive Director Jeff Bray. Some businesses owners are considering leaving the downtown core, where theft, vandalism, and open drug use are long-standing problems, Bray said. While locals are well aware of these issues, the national attention is renewing calls for the province to deliver additional support. And I'm not sure if anybody has been down Pandora Avenue, but yeah, it's a war zone, essentially. And I think a lot of people are getting pretty sick of it. And it's really sad because there's a lot of sickness in the streets. And that's the problem with Victoria, and that's the problem with Vancouver is they're really beautiful cities, man. They really are. And I think when people visit, they get that kind of idea, that kind of false sense of security, and then the next thing you know, they're exposed to the downtown east side or East Hastings or Pandora or pretty much anywhere downtown Victoria. And it looks pretty, but man, there's just a lot of sickness. That's brutal. That's brutal. And when I was reading this, it just got me thinking about Pandora, and then I thought back to something that happened last year. And this is the Vic PD. This is a Vic PD press release. And this happened in July of last year. And it's when police respond to paramedic assaulted on Pandora Avenue. So this was when a paramedic was seemingly helped someone with an overdose and they got attacked. Officers responded to an incident in the 900 block of Pandora Avenue last night during a call for assistance to BC Emergency Health Services members. At approximately 7:50 p.m. on July 1st, EHS members in the 900 block of Pandora Avenue were flagged down for a male in need of medical assistance. While the individual was being cared for, he attacked one of the paramedics, striking and kicking them in the face. The paramedic fled towards a nearby Victoria fire truck, which was on the scene for an unrelated matter, but was pursued by the suspect, who continued to act aggressively towards the first responders. When Vic PD officers arrived on scene, they observed the male continued to exhibit aggressive behavior, and a crowd of approximately 60 bystanders began to surround the first responders. Those 60 bystanders, those are 60 other homeless people out on Pandora Avenue. The male ignored commands from officers, and a conductive energy weapon was deployed, so they tased him. The male was then placed into custody, where he currently remains pending a court appearance. After the arrest, bystanders in the area became increasingly hostile towards officers, who were highly outnumbered. Officers called for additional resources to gain control of the situation and prevent it from escalating further. Vic PD thanks all the neighboring police agencies for their quick response and assistance. Yeah, that's happening. And that's been happening. And I was curious because I was looking for a story related to this just since I've been going down this the past couple of days. And then I came across this article, which I believe this is the man who was attacked. And this was posted in March of this year. I think this is the first time he's come out and talked about it. So let's read this to like really understand the first account experience, because you can read that press release and people are so desensitized now where it's, oh, okay, glad I don't live near there. You gotta listen to this guy describe the situation here, right? So Greg Stubbs is a husband, father of 3, and a paramedic on Vancouver Island. He is now back on the job after he was attacked and seriously hurt while responding to a call on Pandora Avenue in downtown Victoria last summer. So that happened in July of last year, so this seems like it's the right guy. We went for a suspected seizure, Stubbs told Global News. The call had come from a person inside Our Place Society, which provides meals, counseling, transitional housing, and outreach services for vulnerable people in the area. So Our Place is it's essentially a safe house. And personally, as someone who has been in that place, servicing that place for a prior job or what have you, I've seen it firsthand, and it's pretty rough. The workers are extremely well intentioned. And just unfortunately, the people that live there can just be extremely unpredictable because they suffer from a lot of mental health and stuff like that. And the place doesn't get the resources it needs to handle these types of problems. And the staff is usually outnumbered severely. But these people still show up and these people still try to make a difference, which is extremely admirable. So I can really appreciate that. And that's why I think British Columbia has the potential to make a goddamn comeback here, boys. Come on. We got people willing to help. Right? Like this EMT who was fucking jumped after saving someone's life. Anyways, I digress. However, when Stubbs and his coworker arrived, they were directed to check out a person inside a tent on the street in front. We go in, we find this young man. He's on all fours inside a tent, still trying to smoke whatever he is smoking, Stubbs said. No idea, he's not really talking very much. They got the man outside the tent, sat him in a chair, and were doing vitals on him, and Stubbs said the man was nice and compliant. At which point, this gentleman stands up from the chair, and he does like a nonchalant stretch like you would after a nap. Before you even finish the stretch, he punched me in the face, Stubbs said. He was completely shocked, I can imagine. The man started approaching his partner, Stubbs added, as he stumbled backwards and fell onto all fours on the boulevard. He turned around and kicked me as hard as he could in the face, and all I could see was tunnel vision, Stubbs said. Keep in mind, this guy's a father of 3, who is a paramedic just trying to make sure that this guy won't croak. And then this guy gets up after making sure he's all good, stretches nonchalantly, and just sucker punches this guy. Just cold cocks him. Crazy. Like everything's getting smaller. I'm almost passing out. All I can do is try to survive because I know if I go unconscious here, the fight is over. Imagine how fucking scary that is. You'd think this guy's a police officer. No, he's an EMT. A fire truck had also responded to the call outside or inside Our Place, so Stubbs stumbled over to the side of the truck and the driver got out to stand over him and protect him. Thank you, Victoria Firemen, Stubbs said. And at that point, I'm just super dazed. I don't really know. I can even tell you by name at that point, probably. And then more of the firemen came out and they created a barricade in front of my partner and I. They have their axes out trying to protect us because this guy is just amping up. This is happening in Victoria. In broad daylight, in the summer heat. And then people are coming in, Victoria police from the left and right, and I think it took 11 or 12 police officers to eventually get this gentleman under control. Reports at the time stated that there was a group of about 60 people who faced the first responders. Stubbs said he left shortly after in another ambulance, but things only escalated from there. Everyone was coming out of their Pandora Avenue tents yelling at the police. There's more of us than there are of you. We're going to kill all of you, Stubbs said. That's what they were. Holy shit. They're throwing things at ambulances and fire trucks and police cars. So Victoria police sent on a mayday for everyone south of Duncan. Everyone south of Duncan? Mayday? That's insane. Every officer south of Duncan came down and they blocked off a 4-block radius around Pandora. No one was allowed in or out until it settled. Stubbs said he didn't know what was going to happen to him when he was attacked. I was just trying to stay awake and get away, he said. Just instincts. I knew if I was unconscious at that point, who knows what would have happened. He could have come back and curb stomped me, broke my neck, or it could have been over. I have no idea. Stubbs said there was nothing else he could have done, and if his partner wasn't there and the firemen weren't there, the outcome could have been very different. See, this is what I mean. We should be celebrating these people who are going out there and putting it all on the line to try to save people. We need to support these people, not coattail to people who clearly can't make the best life decisions. The only other thing that might have helped a little bit is we're on bike squad and I was wearing a bike helmet. So when he kicked me in the side of the head, said Stubbs, and I think my helmet took most of it. Stubbs said that while nothing fractured and he had 2 black eyes, he was worried about a brain bleed. Biggest worry is the December prior to that, I had a pretty big head injury and I had 5 brain bleeds, he said. Jesus. And so with a rather large concussion, the worry of repeat concussions was huge. He was like a fucking NFL player. Following the assault, Victoria Police Chief Del Manick called an emergency meeting with Victoria Mayor Marianne Alto and announced that fire and ambulance crews would no longer respond to the 900 block of Pandora Ave without a police escort. Manick said he recognized the different backgrounds and complex needs of the people on Pandora Avenue, but that the first responders should never feel their safety is threatened. That's a good start. And I can appreciate that. And in this life or the other life, I've actually met Del Manick before, and he's a good guy. He's a good cop. In August, the city and Victoria Police announced a plan to address the encampment through increased police and bylaw patrols and with the ultimate aim of removing it. In September, the city of Victoria started putting up a fence in the 900 block of Pandora Avenue, but the encampment has not been completely cleared. So what they did is they put those blue fences up, those construction fences they usually see around job sites. They put those up on each side of the road between the curb and the sidewalk. So they just put fences up. And they think that they can get rid of this encampment. Oh man, this is just so messed up. I've also learned that since I got kicked that most people who live on this street wear steel-toed boots, Stubbs said. So when they do kick somebody, it hurts more. Like they all have weapons and we're going into this every day, multiple times a day, in unknown places, potentially unsafe. I think entirely unsafe is a better way to describe it. Just there to help and people are turning on us. Stubbs has already accepted a job to transfer out of Victoria area when the attack happened. Don't blame him. He said the violence he experienced has become a fact of life for first responders. I was tired of the constant verbal abuse that we get at work every day, Stubbs said. He admitted he was nervous speaking out, but said he wanted to tell his story to prevent others from getting hurt. Everyone has to know that we're out there just trying to help, he said. And it's fair for us to be under constant abuse. Not fair for us to be under constant abuse, excuse me. So listen to that. Listen to what he says. He admitted that he was nervous speaking out, but said he wanted to tell his story to prevent others from getting hurt. Mr. Stubbs, if you're out there, come on the Westwind Report. I would love to talk to you about this. And if there's any first responders out there that want to send me information about this stuff or want to talk to me about this stuff, send me an email. Send me a good old fashioned electronic mail. I think I have an email. I do. It's westwindreport@gmail.com. I'll put the link in the description of this video and however on Spotify. But please, like, this stuff has to change and public safety has to change. David Eby has to step up. We need to start holding our premier and our government accountable. And we need to work together. Just common sense and just move forward out of this like super dark time. And that's what the Westwind Report is going to be about. Because I'm not down for this stuff to keep on happening. And I think we just all have to talk about it. So that's it. We're going to try to make this show work. Thank you, everyone who got this far and listened. Really do appreciate it. We're going to just keep on grinding. We're going to be consistent and we're going to be precise. And if everyone listens, if no one listens, then that's fine. Right? But I feel important. It's important for me to at least put my voice out there and see where we can get with this. All right. So hope everybody has a lovely Sunday. And I'll talk to you all very soon.